Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, ever merciful. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon you, dear viewers. Welcome to tonight's live online lecture organized by the UK Talim Department. As per our tradition, we will start with the recitation of the Holy Quran. If I could please request respected Hakeem Mensa Sahib to recite a portion.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تقف ما ليس لك به علم إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إنك لن تخرق الأرض ولن تبلغ الجبال طولا كل ذلك كان سيئه عند ربك مكروها. The verses just recited are from Holy Quran chapter 17, verses 37 to 39. Surah Al-Bani Israel. Translation. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. And follow not that of which thou hast no knowledge. Verily, the ear and the eye and the heart, all these shall be called to account. And walk not in the earth haughtily, for thou canst not rend the earth, nor canst thou reach the mountains in height. The evil of all these is hateful in the sight of thy Lord. Jazakumullah.
Tonight we have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Imran Masood Sahib, who is a consultant eye surgeon at the Birmingham and Midland Eye Centre. He is an honorary senior clinical lecturer at the University of Birmingham and director of the Birmingham Institute for Glaucoma Research, based at the Centre for Translational Medicine at the University of Birmingham. He has served the Jamaat in various capacities, including as local Talim secretary, local president, and is currently part of the regional Ansar Tabligh team. Over the last year, he has been very fortunate to have been given the opportunity to serve the Jamaat with the development of the Masoor Eye Institute in Burkina Faso. As always, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. These will be put to our respected speaker on your behalf in the last 15 minutes. Please type your questions into the live chat and kindly ensure the questions are relevant to the topic. It gives me great pleasure indeed to hand over to Dr. Imran Sahib to deliver tonight's lecture.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakallah Vakar Sahib for the very kind invitation. I have to say, when I've looked at the list of speakers who've delivered these lectures, I really don't consider myself worthy. And I really feel that my journey in terms of servicing the Jamaat is very much at its beginning. Nevertheless, I will try my best to talk to you today about the eyes. They are a window to the soul. So let's start off with some philosophy. So Plato said that the body is a prison for the soul. And it's further been said that the eyes are the only reason that the soul agrees to be imprisoned by the body, because the eyes allow the soul to view the world outside. In the Bible, we read Matthew 6, 22 to 23. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? 238 verses in the Holy Quran mention the eye. So when I did the search a couple of days ago on the Al-Islam website, and you put in eyes, and 238 verses come up which mention the eye. And I'll just go through just a few of them. So chapter 46, verse 27, and we had established them in wherein we have not established you, and we gave them our ears and eyes and hearts. But their ears and their eyes and their hearts availed them naught, since they denied the signs of Allah, and that at which they used to mock encompassed them. Chapter 3, verse 14. Certainly, there was for you a sign in the two armies that encountered each other, one army fighting in the cause of Allah and the other disbelieving, whom they saw to be twice as many as them in number as themselves, actually with their eyes. Thus Allah strengthens with his aid whomsoever he pleases. In that is surely a lesson for those who have eyes. And finally, we read in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 8, Allah has set a seal on their hearts and their ears, and over their eyes is a covering, and for them is a great punishment. So, in essence, you can see here that Allah is telling us that he has given us eyes to look for his signs. And if we deny his signs, and we deny the existence of Allah, then our eyes get covered in a spiritual sense. So the eyes have a very important role in faith and understanding of that faith. How are the eyes a window to the soul? Well, the eyes will often speak when the body is still. You're all aware of the concept of non-verbal communication, and you can actually read certain emotions in people's eyes, like fear, excitement, and love. And multiple emotions can therefore be expressed by the eyes themselves. So this is an example of what happens when you're either excited or you're frightened. You get a dilation of the pupil. And this is a very good way of telling whether someone's actually interested in you or interested in what you're saying. Because if they're excited by what you're saying, you will notice that their pupil dilates. Obviously, this is a little easier to see in people with blue eyes than brown eyes. I think it's really quite fascinating that the eye, which is obviously one of the marvels of the creations of Allah, that all of the digital imaging equipment that we see that's used to record video footage, programs, etc., all of these devices are based on the principle of something that was created by Allah. And if we compare the eye to a camera, we can see that there are a number of similarities. So the eye has a lens, as does a camera. The eye has an iris. Now the iris is a bit like the diaphragm of the camera lens, and the aperture is a bit like the pupil. So the little black spot that you see inside the middle of your eye is actually, it's not really any structure. It's just a hole in the iris. It's a pupil. It's the aperture that lets the light into the back of the eye. And then the film, the equivalent of the film at the back, which captures the image, is in us, it's our retina, which then carries the impulses down this cable, which is called the optic nerve, to the brain. And as I've said, the retina of the eye is like the film or the digital sensor of the camera. Both are light sensitive, and both are protected in a light tight container or box. So this is the box. This is your box of your camera, if you like, that is nice and dark and prevents stray light from coming in, so that the retina can create sharp, clear images that the brain can interpret. So let me take a quote from the wonderful book by Khalifa Rabi, Revelation, Rationality, Truth and Knowledge. In the preface of that book, there is a discussion on the book, The Origin of the Species, which was by Darwin. And this is a confession of Darwin in his own words. And Darwin says, to suppose that the eye, with all of its inimitable contrivances for adjusting the focus to different light distances, for admitting different amounts of light, and for the correction of spherical and chromatic aberration could have been formed by natural selection seems, I freely confess, absurd in the highest possible degree. So although he goes on then to say that, it is possible that it could have formed through evolution, he does say here that it is quite likely that, or it's less likely that the formation of the eye happened purely by chance. But obviously he doesn't believe in God. He was an atheist, and so he had to put forward his own agenda. Let's talk a little bit about what can go wrong with the eyes. So I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 common diseases that affect the eyes, and I'm sure you will know people who've suffered from these or indeed have had surgery for some of these conditions. So cataract is the commonest cause of reversible blindness in the world. Cataract is basically when the lens in the eye, which I showed you earlier, becomes cloudy, and as that lens becomes cloudy, the vision is reduced, and therefore you can't do your daily tasks, things like reading, watching television, driving. All of those tasks are impacted, and therefore you have to think about having an operation. Glaucoma, which in Urdu is termed kala motia, the cataract is called safed motia. Kala motia is the commonest cause of irreversible blindness worldwide. And in this condition, what happens is the eyeball, which normally has a pressure inside it, that pressure becomes too high, and that pressure damages the cable at the back of the eye, which connects the eye to the brain, the optic nerve, and you can lose your vision completely. And then another big problem, and this is a huge problem amongst Pakistanis and Southeast Asians, is diabetes. And diabetic eye disease is very common amongst these people, particularly if you don't look after your diabetes and you continue to eat things that the doctors advise you against. Then if your sugar remains out of control, then over a period of time, you can actually go totally blind. So it's very important that if you do have diabetes, that you make sure your diabetes is well controlled, because long term it can have an impact on all of your organs. And something which is also very common in the Western world, macular degeneration. So this is what all of these things look like. This is an eyeball, and you can see the black that you would normally see is replaced by this white. And this white is a very, very severe cataract, and it's the kind of cataract you might see in the third world, but we do occasionally see that in the UK as well. This is the little cable at the back of the eye that gets damaged in glaucoma, and you can see with increasing damage, the cable becomes very, very pale from its very healthy pink color. That's because of damage. And then this is macular degeneration. This is your nerve again. This is the bit that helps you see in the eye, and you've got lots of bleeding there, and that means the vision is reduced. And this is what happens in diabetes. You get, again, lots of bleeding and leakage of fluid at the back of the eye as a result of the diabetic damage to the blood vessels, and again, that damage to eyesight. So what does the patient see when they have these problems? So this is I know this is a little bit blurry, the image, but this is what you would see with your normal eye, and this is what you would see with an advanced cataract. So you really can't see very much at all, and you can imagine if you were walking around like this, you would be at serious risk of falling down or injuring yourself. In glaucoma, what happens is that initially, and this is the danger with this disease, it is asymptomatic in the early stages, so you have no symptoms. And in early glaucoma, you can pretty much see normally, but then you can see the vision gets destroyed from the outside in. So the peripheral vision is lost first, and the central vision is lost towards the end. So by the time someone with glaucoma says they cannot see, it is already too late. So that's why you would go to your optician, those of you who are over the age of 40, every year or 2 years to have your eyes tested for glaucoma as well. And in macular degeneration, what happens is it's your central vision that gets damaged, okay? So if the part of your eye that allows you to see someone's face or be able to read, and you end up with this sort of blurriness or blotchiness within the middle of your vision, the periphery is still okay, but it's your central vision gets damaged. And this is very, very common as well, particularly in Caucasians or white people, and again is a cause of major morbidity and blindness. Now, we've got some very effective drugs now which can reduce the risk of vision loss with these conditions, and they've been available for the last 15 or 20 years. So what is the impact of visual loss? Well, it is manifold. You know, there are so many different parts of your life that are dependent on vision. And all you have to do is to cover your eyes and see if you could function. You know, people lose their independence. They are more liable to fall. They're more liable to fracture their hip and other bones. Mental health, these patients become isolated, but they become cut off from the world. And depression and anxiety is very, highly found in people with vision problems. And mortality, there's good evidence. These are all points that I've taken from the literature, where papers have shown that patients with poor vision have a higher incidence of dying as well compared to the average person in the population. And I'll just give you a quote that one of my poor patients said to me before I operated on his only eye. He was blind in one of the eyes from previous trauma as a child, and he had severe glaucoma in his only eye. And he actually said to me before I did his operation, he said, "Doctor, if I go blind from this operation, I will jump off a building." So, I hear a lot of patients say to me, "I would rather die than go blind." So you can see really, the impact that loss of vision has on a patient. Some patients will become suicidal if they are close to losing their vision. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and my journey. So I'm a consultant eye surgeon. I've been working in Birmingham at the eye center there for about just over a decade now. And I have a specialist interest in complicated eye problems, such as complicated cataracts and glaucoma. And I also have a special interest in operating as safely as possible on patients who only have one eye. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey. I have to say, throughout my life, I really very much believe that my journey has been guided by Allah the Almighty. And I'll give you some reasons why I believe that is the case. I started my training in 2000 as a doctor, and I had a my heart set on becoming a heart surgeon. I wanted to be a cardiac surgeon. But various things happened, and I basically switched to becoming an eye surgeon, and I started my training in 2003. And alhamdulillah, between 2003 and 2010, by the grace of Allah, I managed to complete all of my training. And a lot of my colleagues say to me that is record time, 7 years from knowing nothing about eyes to becoming a consultant in Birmingham. And the other interesting thing about my journey is that when I switched to training to be an eye surgeon, I always had a desire to come and work in Birmingham where my family were, and to serve my hometown and community. There's a lot of social deprivation in Birmingham, and I really felt that I wanted to come back and help my community. But for some reason, I just couldn't get a job in Birmingham. I tried on 2 or 3 occasions to get jobs. I made all, did all the networking, did all the right things, but no success. Eventually, by the grace of Allah, I ended up on a very, very good training position in Sheffield. And again, Allah, I'm going to say later on as well, Allah is the best of planners. I was sent there because the training there was excellent and the experience was excellent, far better than I would have got in Birmingham as a junior trainee. And eventually, I planned on settling there because, again, the interesting thing was that there was no jobs available in Birmingham, okay? And I was starting to talk to my colleagues in Sheffield about getting a job there. But again, Allah works in his own ways. He created the right opportunity. So a job did come out in Birmingham at exactly the right time. But I had a look at the job description, and the job description didn't really fit what I wanted to do. And so I actually ignored it. I kind of thought, well, I don't want this job. I'm just going to carry on with my plan to settle in Sheffield. But again, amazing story. I was in Canada at the time, unfortunately, just after my father passed away. And while I was in Canada, very strangely, I got a phone call from one of my friends who was an eye doctor. And he said to me, he told me that his father had been sitting at a wedding with a couple of eye surgeons, one of whom was from Birmingham and another very senior surgeon. And they were talking about the job in Birmingham. And this eye surgeon who was from Birmingham was telling this other eye surgeon to come and work in Birmingham. And I thought, this is strange. Why would they ask such a respected senior eye surgeon to come to a job like this, which, to my mind, on the face of it, didn't look like a good job? But he said to me, look, my friend said to me in Canada while I was on holiday, you need to talk to the Birmingham unit and think about applying. So alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, I phoned them from Canada, left, and then again, I came back to Sheffield and I ignored things. And then the next day I'd had 4 or 5 messages on my phone to say that we want you to really come and visit us. And you know what? The rest is history. So, again, for me, I think this was a great example of the prayers of my parents, and the fact that Allah works His miracles when He wants to. So what now? So I'm now a consultant. So what do I do now? Work hard, earn lots of money, have a lucrative private practice, and buy all that life has to offer. So, you've got all these great things that you can go and buy with your money, but is this what real success is? That it isn't. It isn't. You can be financially secure, you can have billions of pounds to your name, but that does not give you satisfaction. It does not give you happiness. What gets me up in the morning is not going to work to earn money. It's knowing that every day I'm going to have, by the grace of Allah, a positive impact on another human being's life. Restoring or saving sight is like giving someone a new life. And Allah says in the Holy Quran, in chapter 5, verse 33, that for killing a person or for creating disorder in the land, it shall be as if he had killed all mankind. And whoso gave life to one, it shall be as if he had given life to all mankind. So really, for me, this says it all. This is what gets me up in the morning to go to work. And, the human impact of what we do, I think, we all, as doctors, we work hard. We don't realize the impact we're having on our patients. So this is an example of feedback that I received on NHS Choices, which is a website where patients give their feedback. And this was given anonymously, but one of my managers told me this is the patient you operated on. So look at what it says here. It was titled, this was written by the daughters of the patient. Miracles do happen. On behalf of my father, who traveled down to Birmingham with his sight hanging on a thread after 10 years of treatment in Newcastle upon Tyne, I would like to thank the doctor and the team of professionals who have given my father his sight back by placing a stent in the eye. As it happened, I did a cataract as well. But look at this. I cannot describe the elation of a 73-year-old man who could not see his own children and grandchildren and was in the depths of despair, banging his fists together on the train home in sheer happiness, watching someone you love teetering around tentatively, suffering bruising and knocks, not being able to eat from a plate because of the embarrassment of dropping food and lack of enjoyment of not being able to see the food, eating only sandwiches and losing weight as a result. I'll just carry on here. Look, I feel I have my father back, and I know he is so, so grateful that words will never describe how happy we all are as a family and how thankful we are, especially to the doctor who gave my father this gift back. Thank you all so much, because we see this as our Christmas miracle. And even if it gives us a couple more years together, we are forever grateful. Alhamdulillah. So Allah says in the Holy Quran, I have not created men and jinn, but that they may worship me. So worship is not just saying your 5 daily prayers. Every aspect of one's life, one should be looking. And I know in multiple, khutbahs and Hazur always says, every aspect of your life, you should be looking at how you can worship Allah through everything that you do. And this sort of leads me on to the concept of how can you use your skills to help humanity? How did I use my skills to help humanity? So in 2011, I got great opportunity to go out to Armenia. So Armenia is a landlocked country surrounded by Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. And, you know, there's a lot of poverty there. You know, we kind of have blinkers on when we think about the rest of the world. We think, oh well, poverty is only in Africa, or poverty is only in parts of India. But there are lots of pockets of extreme poverty around the world and very poor availability of healthcare. And this is Armenia. This is a picture of Mount Ararat, and legend has it that this is where Noah's Ark came to rest at the end of the terrible flood that wiped out large numbers of people. And this is us. This is myself, slightly more youthful, in Yerevan, which is the capital of Armenia, with the other surgeons that went out to help the patients. And this was me in their I would say quite rudimentary operating theatre. You know, it's nothing like what we have in the West. So we are very, very lucky in terms of our access to healthcare, and we must never forget that. You know, I think it is I know people say healthcare is a right, and I believe that very much so, but we are indeed privileged in this country to have that afforded to us as a right, because not everyone in the world has access to these the quality of healthcare that we have in the UK. So let's talk a little bit about learning, teaching, and training. This is another way of giving back to humanity. It is said, there's a famous quote, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And acquiring and passing on knowledge to others is an absolute duty of all Muslims. And Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our beloved Prophet, was an excellent exemplar in this regard. The Holy Prophet ﷺ learnt how the path to Allah, and then he taught us that path. You know, he passed on all of that knowledge through the Sunnah and the Hadith. You know, he was the ultimate example of teaching and training humanity. And the impact that he has had over the ages has been legendary. I mean, you know, some of the books even quote the Prophet ﷺ as being the most influential man of all time. So he was an example of how to teach and how to train. According to the teachings of Islam, seeking knowledge is one of the greatest acts of worship that leads one to the path of paradise. However, and this is very important, it's all about niyat, it's all about the aims, it's all about the intentions. The aim behind seeking knowledge is far more important than the knowledge itself. Seeking true knowledge with a divine aim for the pleasure of Allah and serving his creatures leads one to paradise in the company of prophets and the awliya. But seeking knowledge for personal, mundane, or worldly motives leads a person to ignorance, sins against the creatures of God, and ultimately hell. So brothers, we should all seek knowledge. We should all try and better ourselves, but we should do it with a pure heart and with the aim of pleasing our Creator and serving humanity. A person aspiring to seek knowledge should first undergo spiritual purification, instill taqwa in his soul, free himself of bad intentions and worldly motives, and regularly assess himself to check whether his knowledge is being acquired for worldly aims. Extremely important, again, cannot stress this. And at each step of pursuing knowledge, you should meditate and think deeply as to what is your primary intention behind seeking knowledge. Ask yourself, why am I acquiring knowledge? Is it to secure a better job position, to compete with a colleague or a group, to earn awards, a degree, or social status? If you are pursuing higher education, are you seeking it only for writing books and papers and making public speeches so as to be praised as a man or woman of knowledge? Or are you doing it for the sake of the pleasure of Allah and to serve his creatures? So again, Allah gave me a fantastic opportunity to help. The BPOS stands for the British Pakistani Ophthalmology Society, and it's a group of about 200 Pakistani ophthalmologists in the UK. Now, remember that the country that a lot of us hail from, Pakistan, is a very populous country with 6 times the population almost of the UK. And you can imagine that with this number of people, poverty combined with resource limitation results in an epidemic of all sorts of diseases, and particularly blinding diseases such as glaucoma, cataract, and diabetic eye disease. And so I was very fortunate that I was approached by some colleagues who asked me whether I'd be willing to join them to train Pakistani ophthalmologists in the management of complex eye diseases. So we established a 6-month training program for Pakistani eye surgeons who are already in practice and fully trained. Okay, a lot of these people, they're very passionate. They want to provide high quality care, but they lack resources. They lack training. And so our aim was to try and get that training to them virtually. And in a sense, the COVID pandemic, whereby we've moved a lot of our activities online, the benefit has been this international collaboration. And so we set up a WhatsApp group. These gentlemen here, Rashid was the sort of leader in terms of the fellowship, in terms of the organization, and he was fantastic. So we had lots of discussions on WhatsApp about surgical techniques, about patient cases, and so on. And at the end of the and then we used Zoom. So this was really fantastic. So I used to, on a monthly basis, do a 4-hour webinar session with the Pakistani ophthalmologists, where we discussed complicated surgery, how to manage complications during surgery, and improving surgical techniques. And then the other big thing that doesn't happen in these countries is audit. So audit is a process whereby you look at the operations or the treatment you're giving patients, and you see whether it's making a difference and how good it is and how complication free it is, or if there are any other problems arising with that treatment. And so we also set up for them a database where they could collect their data, and in due course we're looking to see if we can help them to publish that data in medical journals. And then at the end of it, we awarded them a formal certificate to say that they had completed 400 hours of training in that 6-month period, and certify them as trained in adult glaucoma. And we're having a 6-month hiatus at the moment, and we're going to restart again in February next year, inshallah. And we already have had 40, 50 or 60 people express an interest. We can only take 3 or 4 a year, every 6 months or every year. But there's a lot of interest amongst the people, because they want to learn, they want to get better. And it's our duty in the West, those of us who Allah has blessed with the knowledge and blessed with the resources and the skills, to pass that knowledge on. Because by passing that knowledge on to the doctors and the surgeons in Pakistan, it's sadqa jariyah. The training you give them will help countless, thousands, hundreds of thousands of poor patients. The other thing that I do is I use YouTube. We all know that social media can be used for positive things and negative things. And this is, I think, a fantastic example of a very positive thing you can do on YouTube, is that I have a surgical video library on YouTube, where what I do is I will all the surgical procedures that I do, I record them, and then I edit them, and I do voiceovers, and I will try and explain so that surgeons watching around the world can learn from this, and improve their techniques, improve their outcomes, and look after their own patients better. So, I'm a great believer in making everyone around you better, because every time, it's a great quote, every single time you help somebody stand up, you are helping humanity rise. And ultimately, let me go back to the example of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. His aim, his desire is that every single human being hit the spiritual heights. He doesn't want to keep it all for himself. Of course not. He wants to help. He wanted to help every single person achieve the highest spiritual station that they can. Again, we rise by lifting others. So that brings me on to probably the biggest responsibility that I have been given in my life, and this is the Masoor Eye Institute. I'm very grateful to Allah that I've been given this responsibility, but I do need your prayers because it's a huge responsibility. And from when over the weekend I was at a Ansar Ijtima where we did a presentation and a panel discussion on the Masoor Eye Institute, and Sadr Sahib quoted Hazur as saying that you've named this after me, now keep its honor. So I really took those words to heart, and I need your prayers to make sure that I can maintain the honor of the name. And just a picture of our beloved Hazur. And this is the Eye Institute, absolutely fantastic building. I have to say that inshallah I'm going to visit in December, but the images I've shown to some of my colleagues and friends who are not MD, but they're all so excited about supporting this, and they want to come out with me. They want to come out and help the people in Burkina. But I have to say, one of my colleagues actually said it looks better than our own eye hospital in Birmingham. So I think Alhamdulillah, the Ansarullah have done a fantastic job building this, and may it serve the people locally as our Khalifa Hazrat Mirza Masoor Ahmad wants. And this is the inside again. It looks absolutely brilliant. This is a fantastic 3D video that was produced by Umar, and I'm going to mention his name. He is the son of Fazl Ahmad, who works for Humanity First. And I think this was absolutely brilliant, so I'm going to show you this. And he's done a 3D rendering of what the Institute looks like all the way around. And then you can then go inside as well. This is a virtual tour. We go through the doors into the main lobby. And then we've got two wings to this. We've got the operating wing. This is where the surgeries will be done. We have two operating theatres. This is one of the operating theatres. And how the equipment will be set up. And then if we go down to the other side, on the opposite end, we have the consultation suites. These are where the patients will be seen and diagnosed using all of the latest modern equipment that we've purchased for the Institute using the charitable funds. So this is what it looks like on a 3D rendering. And I'm just going to carry on now. So how did I get involved with this? Well, I have to say, I didn't really plan to get involved with this, and I didn't really want to get involved with this. But again, I've said at the end, Allah had other plans, and He's the best of planners. I have to say, I was rather apprehensive about the idea of going to Africa, and probably a bit scared. I'd done my bit with Peace Walks. I'd raised a few funds for the Institute. I knew it was being built, but like I said, I really didn't fancy the idea. So, how did I get involved? Well, that's another one of those stories that I'll briefly tell you. So, May 2020, I remember the day very clearly. I had a very hard day at work. I came home and lay down on my bed. For some reason, you can say from some stupid reason, I don't normally log on to local Ansar Zoom meetings. It was about 8:30 in the evening, but on my phone, I just logged on and I kind of nodded off a little bit. And Sadr Ansarullah happened to be on the meeting. And, I was kind of drifting in and out of sort of sleep. And one of the Ansar brothers suddenly mentions my name and volunteers me and says, Dr. Imran, he's an eye surgeon. And so suddenly I kind of wake up and, I have a discussion with Sadr Ansarullah Sahab, and he kind of says to me, we are doing this project and I'll give you the name of the project lead. And, that was it really. So, initially, there was a discussions with a lot of the ophthalmologists, and I was really very much a peripheral figure in all of this. There were a lot of other colleagues who'd gone out to Africa and had spent time. They were very experienced, and I was just someone on the side. And I didn't really contribute a huge amount. And then one day, I thought, well, you know, I know we're doing all this work here, but we don't actually know any of the ophthalmologists in Burkina. And so I purely by chance, I sent a random email to a name that I found on the internet within the website of the Burkina Faso Society of Ophthalmology. So they had a website. Now, again, the rest is history, because subsequent to that, I got a response. We've had 100 hours plus of Zoom meetings with doctors in Burkina Faso. And alhamdulillah, one of the senior professors who's really driven, dynamic, and very keen to help us with the institute and help run the institute, Professor Jean Diallo, he actually visited London. We had some meetings with him in London, and he also managed to get some time with Masood, which was fantastic. And then he visited me in Birmingham. We spent some time in my clinics, and we also spent some time in our operating theatres. And then I took him to meet my colleagues at the university where we do our research. And again, he was very impressed and very keen to be involved in the research as well. And this is just an example, again, of virtual education. So this is me I've been running some virtual teaching sessions with various doctors in Burkina Faso. This is Ahmed Nasser Saud. Saud is actually a trainee in ophthalmology. He also is the son of the national Amir, and he's Waqf Zindagi. So what we're hoping in due course is that as he gets more experienced and more senior, he's going to play an important role in helping to run the institute. And then another example, I remember one of these days, I was actually running a Zoom meeting, and literally there was a doctor in Ouagadougou around here. There was another doctor in Bobo de Lasso. There was another doctor here, and there was another doctor in France. One of the doctors from Burkina has gone out to Paris to do some training. He was on the call, and then I was in Birmingham. So really, it's quite amazing the technology, and how if you use the technology in a positive way to benefit humanity, it's absolutely phenomenal. So where to next? Well, really, I want to work hard to develop a leading institute in West Africa to realize Hazur's vision. Strong links with local doctors, that's very, very important. Inshallah, travel to Burkina to teach, train, perform surgery, and conduct research. And inshallah, in the future, the hospital will be self-sustaining. That's what the aim is. So again, it's all about benefiting mankind. The Jamaat, Humanity First, help mankind in lots of different ways. And, it's really, when I tell other people about the Jamaat, it's, often they say, look, you're so lucky to be part of such an amazing organization. And I truly am. I'm really fortunate to be part of this. Education, again, in Africa, the Jamaat has done huge amounts of work. This is a flying eye hospital. Inshallah, one day I want to get involved with this as well. Again, they do a lot of humanitarian ventures. And I'm just going to show you this little video. This is again, just going back to the human impact of what you can do if you really do things for the right reasons and do them for the sake of Allah. So this is the son of a poor patient who came to see me. They brought her to me because everyone had said there's no hope for her. But let's just hear what he says.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Mr. Masood and his team for helping my mother-in-law regarding her vision. A few years back when I spoke to one of her family friends, and they had a look at her eyes, and that we were told that she's got no chance because she only had one eye anyway. She lost the other eye during childhood. She lost the sight in the other eye, and we had no hope, which tied the family down. She wasn't independent at all. We had to walk her to the bathroom, even guide her to the dining table, with a glass of water on the dining table in front of her. She did not know. So we had to basically hold her hand and put the glass in her hand for her to drink water. But thank Mr. Masood and his team, and also Fatima from the opticians. She came out to the house visit, and then she spoke to Mr. Masood to say if anything can be done. And Alhamdulillah, he has worked a miracle for us, and we can't thank him enough. She's got her independence. We don't have to be there 24/7. We don't have to take her to the bathroom anymore. She finds her way around the house, which has made a lot of things that easier for her family, our whole family now. And we can't thank them enough for what they've done. Which, to be honest with you, when before the operation, I didn't think it was possible. Well, anyway, we thought, okay, we'll have a go. We've got nothing to lose. You can't see anyway. But God is always looking upon you, and He has worked miracles for us. And I would like to say thank you to everybody who involved.
So I'm just going to move on from there. I'll just sort of just a couple more slides now. So how can you benefit mankind? Well, I think education is the key. We all have potential. We must work hard and pray hard. And I always say to youngsters who ask me about what they should do in life, I always say there are lots of ways you can help lots of professions out there, but choose a route in life where you can be of benefit to mankind. It's not all about making money. It's about benefiting humanity. And then when you've got to the position you're in, work to be the best you can be. Conduct your affairs honestly, pray earnestly to Allah to help you. And finally, when you do make it, you should have a balance in life. And I think that's very important. We're always told to give precedence to our faith, and we should, but there is a balance. We also have to, look after. We also have responsibilities with family, with parents. We have to balance our life and make sure that that everything is done in moderation. Seek help with patience and prayer. At times when we seem to run out of ideas and answers, we should pray, "Oh Lord, perfect our light for us and forgive us." Organization, I think, is the key. Be organized. One of the things that always strikes me is whenever I look at, when I watch This Week with Hazur, I always look at the many files that he has in the back, and it just seems if he must be so organized. I mean, it's really awesome to see how well organized you have to be to run a worldwide Jamaat, of millions of people. And you can tell that from the appearance of his office. Find mentors, both secular and spiritual. Read about the lives of those who have made it in both spheres. Don't just read about people who've made it in the world. Read about people like, Chaudhry Sir Muhammad Zafrullah Khan. He was probably one of the greatest legal minds in the world, but he also was extremely close to Khilafat. And I think that's why he made it, because of his love of Khilafat. And look at all the wonderful books he's written as well. Another great, Ahmadi, Abdul Salam Sahib. And pray for guidance, work hard at school, keep fit, look after yourself, compete passionately, never be jealous. Very, very important, okay? Always look to help other people. Always want for yourself, want for your brother what you want for yourself, okay? Jealousy destroys humanity and destroys progress. Never show off. This is the reason I've shown this picture here is something my mum always says to me, which is that the more fruit a tree bears, the more it should bow down. Always be humble. Allah can give, but He can also take away. And always be grateful to Allah for any achievement and give in the cause of Allah always. I've already mentioned these. These are some of the, mercy and graciousness are attributes of Allah that we should try and emulate in this world. And finally, who was the reflection of divine attributes on earth? It was our beloved Master, Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He taught us what man is capable of in terms of following and realizing the true purpose of creation. And he is the highest of the high in terms of human achievement. And finally, let us try. So I'll come back to the beginning of my talk, which was about the eyes being the windows of the soul. Let us try to purify our souls so that our eyes radiate piety and illumine the world. And there's a quote from the Promised Messiah here. He said, I wish that if every member of my community was Nuruddin, and that means light of the religion. Jazakallah.
Jazakumullah, Dr. Sahib, an incredible lecture, mashallah, that you've given us, and really captivated us from the very beginning. We do have quite a few questions from our viewers, which, with your permission, I'll put to you.
Yeah.
The first question is from Tahseen G, who asks, is laser eye surgery safe?
That's a very, very good question. So I don't do laser eye surgery. Laser eye surgery is safe, but you have to find a respected and well-known specialist. The problem with laser eye surgery, as it is at the moment, it's become very much a high street thing. People, offering you cut price discounts, all this kind of stuff. I don't agree with that approach. It is safe, but you have to find a reputable specialist who is an expert in corneal disease as well as laser eye surgery. So that would be my recommendation. There's lots of reasons why people may want laser eye surgery. Sometimes it's that they don't tolerate contact lenses very well, and so their eyes become sore and from the use of contact lenses. Other times their glasses are very thick, or they just feel uncomfortable wearing glasses. And I think it's absolutely fine to have laser eye surgery, but you need to go and see a specialist who is very, very experienced, who is a corneal surgeon as well, and someone who has the requisite knowledge and experience and skills. So yes, it's safe, but in the right hands.
The next question is from Rafiq Salih Nasir Sahib, who asks, what are the precautions that Ansar can adopt to maintain their eyesight healthy, especially in old age? I presume the same question could be asked of Lajna as well.
Yeah. So the main things are, I have to say, I'm a great believer in good nutrition. I think the fundamental root cause of a lot of diseases is poor nutrition. It's not the fact that you're not, that the doctors prescribe medicines, but they're not treating the root cause of disease. So I always say that everyone should take multivitamins. I think as you get over the age of 50, very important to take a good multivitamin capsule, because I don't think something like Sanatogen Vital 50, a lot of our food that we eat doesn't contain all of the nutrients, okay? And there is evidence that certain nutrients protect the eyes from damage. The other thing is, there is a little bit of evidence that excessive time in the sun can damage your eyes, okay? So, if you're going to go out in the sun, wear slightly tinted or brown tinted sunglasses, which reduce the amount of UV light. That also helps as well. But generally have a healthy diet. Don't become diabetic. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the Jamaat who don't look at what they eat. They're not careful about what they eat. They don't exercise. And so, at the end of the day, Allah has given us a lifespan, but we can end up killing ourselves if Allah's given you the genes, which means you can live till 90, but you eat poor food, you eat junk food, you smoke, and you die at the age of 50. Well, that's your fault. Okay. So, I know people say, well, God had written the death and it came, but you can actually end up killing yourself, because it's a bit like committing suicide, I suppose, So I would say the precautions are eat healthy, don't become diabetic, and wear sunglasses.
Excellent advice there. Another question, which is seeking your advice from Sophie and Sahiba. What advice would you give to young doctors on how they can incorporate religion into their busy lives?
It's another very, very good question. I think you have to have the will and the desire to do so first of all. Okay. So, if you don't desire to incorporate religion in your life, it's not going to happen. You have to want to incorporate it. And then I think it's about, striking a balance. And the way you strike a balance is by organization, is by not wasting time on frivolous things. I'm a very, very busy doctor, but I really minimize the amount of time I spend watching TV, dramas, all these other things that I don't have the time to do any of those things, right? Because my life is very much family, sport, religion, deen, and work. Right? If you do all of those things, you're really not going to have time for much else. And I think that we all ask ourselves, how can someone do so many things? It's the same 24 hours. The key is, and Hazur has stressed this again and again, is do not waste time. Make sure everything that you do is productive and is something that helps the progress of you in this world and also your soul.
Jazakallah, Imran Sab. So we have about 5 minutes remaining. We do have just a handful more questions. The next question is from Osama Hamid Sahib, who, like with a lot of other viewers, is thanking you for a very inspirational and insightful talk. I don't think he meant that pun there, but it was there in any case. Is there any advice for those who are not qualified or fully qualified or trained yet, but still want to do something for their fledgling skills to help humanity and mankind? And I think it was a similar question also from Tahseen Ji again, in terms of what advice could you give to a child if they wish to become an eye consultant?
Okay, so let me take Osama Saab's question first. So I think at all stages you can help. As a junior doctor, you can accompany more senior doctors in Humanity First to disaster missions. And a lot of the times on disaster missions, the emphasis is on very basic medical care. And I remember when for example, when I was a junior doctor, I used to spend usually a few days before and after Jalsa providing medical care, and I wasn't fully trained at all. But and you always have someone more senior available that you can ring. So a bit like you work in the hospital, very much in the Jamaat we have a system of mentorship as well and support, and so. I know that the guys at Humanity First, for example, Dr. Shahnawaz Rashid, who I think is one of the people who head up the Humanity First disaster response team, people like that would be more than happy to take junior doctors out to these areas, because I think it really is character building, and it gives your practice a new meaning, a new direction, a new perspective. The fact that I think doctors really make a big difference to people's lives, and I know it's not sometimes working in the grind of the NHS. You don't see that, but I hope I've given you examples of where you do make a big impact on patients, and patients will be very grateful. So I would say that yes, junior doctors can make a difference. I think Humanity First or the MDR Medical Association, other people to contact. There are various subspecialists around the world. For example, the Tahar Heart Institute, if people are interested in cardiology, that's out there as well. But there are lots of clinicians working in the Jamaat who are already doing this work, and you can latch onto them and you can go out and learn with them and assist with them. So not a problem. The question on female eye specialists, or I think it says female eye, but how can a child become? It's competitive. It's hard work. But what I would say is that the first thing is to get into medical school, which again is competitive. Again, work hard, take advice off people who have already got into medical school. There's lots of people, alhamdulillah, now in the Jamaat who have got into medical school, and they would be more than willing to help. I myself am willing to help as well. I do conduct interviews at the University of Birmingham for entry into medicine. So again, if people wanted to contact me, I'm happy to point them in the right direction. But it's basically hard work, dedication, and then when you during medical school, you need to focus on, if you really want to be an eye specialist, you need to focus on getting experience and getting contacts, developing contacts with eye surgeons and doing research, and then obviously getting on into training positions. It's a long road, but the job satisfaction is immense.
We have 2 minutes remaining, Imran Saib, and I think we could just squeeze in a couple more questions. There is a similar question asked by both Talat Humar and Muhammad Ahmad Sahib. Is there any safe way to get rid of glasses? And the final question is from Tahseen Ji, who asks, are lady or female eye specialists able to serve the Jamaat as well?
Okay, so there is the safest way. I mean, so I'm biased. The funny thing is, I wear glasses, so I'm not going to tell you how to get rid of glasses. I personally wouldn't have any treatment done because, apart from the optical error in the eyes are essentially healthy. Okay, so my personal view is, why do you want to have an operation on a healthy eye that is not going to go blind? Okay, but if for whatever reason, again, I'm not, people have their own reasons, and that treatment is available now. The safest way, there are two safe ways. One is, depending on your age, if you're younger, then laser eye surgery is the best. If you're very short-sighted, you can have small lenses put inside the eye, which can improve the vision dramatically as well. But all of these things come with side effects and risks. Glasses don't. And if you're older, so let's say you're in your 50s and 60s, and most people start to develop a little bit of cataract, so you can have lens replacement surgery done. And some of the modern lenses allow you to see in the distance and nearby as well. So those are, and most of those treatments are relatively safe. So the risk of going totally blind is small. It's very, very small. But ultimately, you have to see the eye surgeon, and you have to decide for yourself whether that's something that you want to take the risk for, because wearing glasses is risk-free. The next question about female eye specialist, absolutely. In fact, there is a female eye specialist, Dr. Aisha Malik, who is in London. She works, I think, at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. She's an MD, and she's done a lot of fantastic work in Africa already, helping children. She's a pediatric eye specialist. So absolutely, and we, on our Jamaat ophthalmologists WhatsApp group, we've got a number of females, some from the UK, some from America, all of whom are very committed. And absolutely, I think that we need people from all backgrounds to come and serve the Jamaat.
Jazakumullah. Imran Sahib, again, just to echo what has been conveyed by our viewers, our deepest appreciation and gratitude for your time this evening in sharing your great experiences and advice, which I'm sure, again, pardon the pun, has been a huge eye-opener for everyone concerned. But Jazakumullah for your time and expertise this evening. If I could please request you to lead us in silent prayer, and we will then close tonight's lecture.
I just want to say Jazakallah and for asking me. It's a great honor. I've delivered lots of lectures around the world, but this was for me the biggest honor to deliver a lecture here. Jazakallah. Dua karne. Ameen.
Ameen. Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.